Today, with help from Power Query, I want to find the longest sequences of X's in rows in my data. So, for example, for Tom, we have 2 X's here and 2 X's here. And it's a row, so I want to write those two rows, those 2 sequences, because I want also to add information about columns in which those sequences appear. So for Tom, we have row 2 sequence with 2 X's, but in Jerry we have 1 X and here 3 X. So I want only this sequence. In case of Eve, we have 4 X's here and 1 X here. So we want only those 4 X's. And in case of Wally, we don't have any X's. And we will need also to work with this. Okay, so we need to select one cell in our table, then go to Data tab, from Table Range to import our data to Power Query. And I need to duplicate my data, my table, my query, because of Wally that don't have any access in here. And I will call one query sequences, and the second okay, and we will start working with sequences. So first of all, we need to right click the name column, and from the drop down menu we want to choose Unpivot Other Columns. Thanks to that option, we will get columns headers in one column, attribute, and values from those cells in columns in the other. And we don't have any null values in our data, so we have all columns, and it's important in this example. And now we can group our columns. I need to group name and control and value, and then on home tab I can press group by command, and here I want to count rows, and I will find the longest sequence of X's, and I also need one other aggregation, and this aggregation isn't in the available options, so I choose median as a placeholder, and I will want to work with attribute column, so the names of the columns, and I will call this column columns, and I will press now OK. And now I get results for names and values, so those information as grouped by those 2 columns, by name and value inside of this information. But we have a small problem in our analysis, because for Tom we have 4 X's, because basic group options is on global grouping. So we have all X's in one places, and we want local grouping. So we need to change the table group function. We want to add the last argument of this function, so comma before the last parenthesis, and we need see here GroupKind argument. And when I start write group count in newer Excel version Power Query, we can see some hints, and I don't want global GroupKind, I want local GroupKinds. Thanks to that, I will get the sequence, the values that appear beneath each other in groups. So we have Tom here twice X's, and here also 2 X's. And now we can work further with our data, because we don't need any other values. We can filter this column by the X value, and we need to remember that Power Query is case sensitive, so small w and uppercase W, that are different numbers for this tool. So for Power Query, okay, I need only X's here, so I can add filter here. Okay, and now I see counts, but I don't see Wally because he didn't have any access. Okay, but I can work with this thanks to my other query. Okay, so now I need to also filter somehow count column because I want only rows with the longest sequences. So for Tom, that 2 rows, but for Jerry, only this row counts because it's the longest sequence of access. 3. For if 4 is the longest sequence of access. And here we have the hardest formula. So we need to add new column that will find the max value from the count column based on the name. So we will be adding new column and we will be also filtering information. So I will copy formula from the formula bar with filter rows because we'll be using table select rows. So copy this formula and then on add column I will add custom column, and this will be max column, and this formula copied but only one equal sign at the start. This is just a placeholder because I will be needing table select rows function here. So okay, and thanks to this function I will get for now tables with all information from the previous group rows step, but I need to refer not to the step 2 steps up, but only one step up. So instead of group rows step, I need to filtered rows step reference here. So in this case I will need this, and we will be now making a more complicated changes. First of all, I don't need each keyword here. I will be using function to refer to compare this row with the row from previous step, so the row on this table. So here I will write value as a R in the parentheses. I'm sending row value and its signs equal and larger than to make a function, and then from the current R row, and not curly bracket but square brackets, and its called name should be equal to a name, so just name without R. And thanks to that we get our tables not the whole table but only the rows with a corresponding name. And I don't really need whole table, I need just count column. So I will add the last parenthesis from table set rows function, the count reference to count column, and it's removing parentheses for me. Okay, it's looks like the number of parentheses is wrong, and where I need more parentheses. Okay, I have too much parentheses this time. Now I get the proper list and proper values as a list, but I don't need a whole list, I need only the max value. So let's hope that this time I will get the parentheses in the proper place. Before table select rows function, I need to add a list.max function. The first parenthesis, and I don't need here parentheses, but I need at the end here. Okay, it looks okay, and thanks to that I finally get the max value, max count for each name. So now I just need to add filter that filters count column, and it should be based on the max column, but I don't have such option in the user interface, so I will just select one, and in table bar, formula bar, I will just change the 1 to reference to the max column, and thanks to that, I will get 2 rows for Tom, 2 twos, 1 free access for Jerry, 1 for access for Eve. And now we can somehow add Wally, who didn't have any access. So if in each row X exists at least once, we won't need to add this step. But in this case, we won't have access in the rows. We need to add this solution. So I need to remove other columns than name. So right click on the name column and remove other columns. Now I can merge those queries. So on Home tab, I can go merge queries, and I want to merge answer query with sequences based on name column. And I can see I have match for 3 out of 4 rows from the top, so or left column. And I can press OK, and I have this whole table. I need value, column, count column, and columns list for this example. And I forget something in the columns formula, but we will make a change in a bit. So okay, so now I just need to expand this. I don't need name, max, and I don't use prefix, and press OK. I have the first column from the columns I want all columns. Okay, I can change null value for Wally to 0. So on Home tab, I can press replace values, and here value defined field write null, and in the replace with write 0, and press OK, and we will see 0 instead of null values. And I forget in my sequence value with grouping to add change for columns grouping. I have here median, but I don't need median. I want to combine all columns name. For now, I can remove this value and press enter. Okay, and Power Query didn't need anything from me, but you can see I have sometimes one value, sometimes more values, depending how long this sequence of values. So I want to combine all values from the list. So I will be using Text.Combine function, and I need add one more argument for this function, separator. And my example, it will be comma space in double quote. So of course, because it's a text, and select this. Now I can see proper column names for whole sequence, and when I go to answer query, I also see those correct values, correct column names. And thanks to that, I can now close and load those queries to Excel. And because I create 2 queries at the same time, Power Query load them to the new worksheets, and I don't need a sequence results, so I can delete whole worksheet, and I only need answer, but I want answer table on my main worksheet. So Ctrl A to select whole table, or just select with mouse, Ctrl X to cut it, and Ctrl V to paste it. And I don't need also answer worksheet, so delete this also. And I can add Bob, and even with no values, when I refresh my query, I get Bob.